This is the Convergence.
Everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Convergence. Today, I've got an exciting guest. I have Ed Vincent with me, and we've just been chatting for a few minutes about his business and how it started to make the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. And I'd love to have that conversation. I'd love to find out more first, Ed, about you and your background. Welcome. Good to have you.
Hey, Derrick, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So you're in Austin, Texas. And are you from Austin originally, or is that just?
No, I'm a transplant, just like many people during the pandemic. I've been in Austin for about 2 years, but 23 years in downtown New York City.
Oh boy, you're a New York guy. Okay, I could see why, particularly during the pandemic, escaping New York was probably high on the priorities list.
But it's like they always say in Texas, is it doesn't matter how long it took you to get here, but once you did, you know you're staying.
That's the truth. And I think Arizona is the same way. We're a very transient community here. And it's like, once you get here, you usually don't leave. But everybody is from someplace else, right? Yeah, which is very similar to Austin in and of itself. Well, tell me a little bit about Festival Pass. I've followed your journey, and checked out Festival Pass. I absolutely love the fact that you've got into Web 3.0, but you've done it as a utility, which is something that I always talk about on the show. But where did you really come up with this concept, and how did it get started and all that?
Sure. So I think a lot of businesses is all about the context of the evolution of the why and how we got here. Myself, I've been an entrepreneur for well over 23 plus years. Was an investment banker in New York up until 1999 when I started my first e-commerce company. Ended up selling that in 2001. Right prior to the dot-com bust, as you talked about.
Yeah.
There's many learnings there. I thought I was, in my mid-20s, I thought I was wealthy and had all this money from a big sale, only to realize that, I had equity in the company going forward that bought us. And then, a lot happened after 9/11 and the dot-com bust. But great experience across the board. So when I look at that first experience, first of all, I have a financial background. So a lot of it has to do with understanding tokenomics and understanding how to build business models related to what the financial forecast is and could be. And I can get into a little bit of that when we talk about the NFT. After selling that company, my next business was about a 70-person experiential marketing firm. So we brought a lot of big known brands into large events, whether those events were concerts or festivals, or we helped launch a few film festivals, as well as owned a film festival down in the Dominican Republic, and built a lot of great brand partnerships. We built a hotel with Maxim magazine back in the mid 2000s. But part of that reason to bring that up is having the passion and understanding that big live, not even big, any live event is really a special experience for the people that are there, whether it's a small concert with your favorite band or a large festival with 50,000 other family members, if you will. They're all unique, special experiences that only happen at that one moment in time that's happening. So I fell in love with the live event experience back in that time frame. Fast forward, I had a SaaS business in the retail and multi-unit space. Sold that in 2014. So I got to understand at that company what is meant by recurring revenue and how does that affect business models, and how is that good for valuation and building a business. Fast forward after that, I had a company called Predict Analytics that I founded, and we were a data analytics and consulting firm for large television and film brands. So A&E Networks, AMC Networks, Screen Vision, which was the company that basically sells half of the ads in all the movie theaters you go to. So they would use our platform to understand who's actually sitting in the seat. And in that time frame, I think you made a quick reference to this early on, is because my company, Predict Analytics, was well known within the kind of television and film space as, understanding consumer data in that space. There was a company called MoviePass that had found us and reached out and said, hey, we have all these subscribers. We could use help on understanding our data, figuring out ways to monetize it, et cetera. So I they hired my company, and I went in as the de facto chief data officer of MoviePass for about 18 months. Never a full-time employee, but spent a good 3 to 4 days a week there in their offices, and got to fully understand all the positive and negatives of the business model that they had created.
Sure. Well, consumers loved it at first, right? I mean, there is an interesting story there about MoviePass. And I think, look, anytime that companies rise and fall quickly, there's lots of great lessons to be learned from them. And there's a reason that it was very viral and it was sensational, because it was a completely different way of thinking about a problem that a lot of people had.
Yeah, so the takeaways I had was great product market fit. People wanted to consume entertainment in a different way, under a subscription model that had some factor to it. But there are many things that were not right about the business model. I mean, first of all, the business model itself didn't make a lot of sense, and then there's ways they financed the company that was kind of problematic for its future growth. But I got to, learn and got to understand about $500 million worth of mistakes, allowed me to have a great education. So in that process, while I was there, I'd always been thinking of, what's a better way to do membership-driven communities, right? So communities where people come together and connect in a community while still being a part of something else. So, when I was looking at the live event industry, it's something that I've always loved, as I mentioned prior to, from my previous experiences. And, I saw it as a large market, as a $200 billion business globally, the live events business. And it was very transactional to date, meaning that when somebody went to get a ticket, it could be a primary or secondary ticketing company. They got the ticket. They were happy to get the ticket, but no community really happened until they physically showed up at the event. And then, of course, there was some magic that happened with the people that were there, the people that surrounded, the passions they had for music, for sports, for whatever the occasion was. And I wanted to find a way to build that membership-driven community around live events in a way that made sense for the consumer when they're acquiring the ticket, the access to get there, as well as, how they participate when they get there, and just really creating a better experience. So that's what we set out to build Festival Pass. And, for everybody who's listening that doesn't exactly know what it is, it's a subscription marketplace or subscription membership for live events. So people traditionally on the Web2 side, they either pay a monthly subscription fee, and that's anywhere from $19 to $49 to $99 a month, or they can join annually, and obviously they get a discount if they're joining annually. And when they join the subscription, they receive credits, and they can use those credits to go to any of the 80,000 live events we have on the platform. So we're not just festivals, even though that's our name. I like the vibe a festival creates, because it is a passionate experience. But we're everything. We have concerts. We have all major professional sports, college sports, Broadway theater, comedy, obviously music, concerts, and festivals as well. So for us, it was really setting out to build this membership-driven community where people can come together, shared experiences, shared passions, whether it is sports, whether it is theater, whether it's comedy, or whether it's music, and come together to participate and do this. So that was the kind of overall high level perspective of why and how we're building Festival Pass. And of course, there's many reasons we chose the business model we did that was very, very different than the MoviePass world. We chose to have our own credit-based currency, which enables us to be a long-term sustainable business while still giving a ton of benefits back to the member.
Sure. That makes total sense. And I think it does apply really well into the Web3 space, right? Where we just talked about this, the last recording I did that'll come out probably right before this, with Aaron Baer from Exponential Theory, New York Times bestselling author. And, he said that we went from this, Web 1 was just read, and then it became read write was Web 2. And now it's really just read write own. And that's, I think, the piece. And you just talked about that. It's part of your business model. It's still the Web 2. Right. They can buy the membership, but then there's a Web3 aspect to it where they actually can almost become, an owner, have a special membership that grants them some access and some community. It gives that utility to that piece. It's not just a ticket then, it's really the golden ticket that allows them a different level of access. You want to talk about that a little bit and why you guys made that transition into Web3?
Yeah, and I loved how you said that we already kind of were built for Web3 before we even went into Web3. Yeah. And part of it is from day one of building the company, philosophically, we're all about community membership and ownership, right? Which is all the tenets of the philosophical piece of what Web3 really is. It's so we're both philosophically aligned, and with the technology that Web3 enables, it allowed us to leverage some of the technologies to really make it happen. So to answer your question, is our first foray, of course, we did all the typical things, right? We accept cryptocurrency for the regular subscription. You can use, ETH, Bitcoin, whatever you want when you're signing up for a regular subscription or even just buying a one-off event. But we decided to launch our first NFT, which is a lifetime founder NFT. And what that means is when somebody owns the NFT, and I'll explain how we're launching it and more about the business behind it. But when somebody acquires or mints that NFT or owns it, whether they buy it in a secondary or mint it themselves, they now receive immediate utility, right? So with the minute they own it and they connect their wallet to our platform, they instantly receive $1,200 worth of credits to our platform. Those credits can be used to go to any of the 80,000 live events on our platform. And we also happen to have hotels on the platform, so you can use your credits to book rooms all over the globe. We have over 600,000 hotels on the platform. But what's more important is not only do they get the instant $1,200 worth of credits, but every year they own that NFT, their credits get refreshed to $1,200. So forever in perpetuity, as long as they own that NFT, they get $1,200 to spend on hotels and events, all over the US and for hotels of the globe. On top of that, that's the utility side, right? So no matter what, they own this thing, they get these benefits. We call it a lifetime of live events. Once you own this NFT, it's for the rest of your life. You want to go to live events, we got you. You're going to be able to go and use it. You will never have to pay for it again. The second thing is cool, unique access, right? So we're developing these quarterly curated, we call them bucket list events. So only for our NFT holders, if you happen to own this NFT, each quarter we're going to do a really cool event just for our holders. So that could include something like a well-known music artist playing for a small group of a few hundred NFT holders. Or it could mean a celebrity chef cooking for 50 of our NFT holders. Or it could mean, going to call it a professional sports game and, watching for 20, 30 people watching the game in the luxury box and then hanging out with the players after. We happen to have a lot of those relationships, and even one of our investors happens to be an NHL hockey player as well. So it helps kind of tag us into some of those unique benefits.
Sure. That's great. So, and I think, it's interesting because I want to step back a little bit, because for people that don't understand when we're talking about utility, in a lot of senses, a lot of the NFTs that have done a good job of creating utility have really followed the sort of airline miles model, where they're just like, look, or the status model that airlines have as well. I've had Jay Pierce on the show a few times as one of the artists that I collect, and I collect both his physical and his NFT collections. But his NFT collections are nice because if you're a holder, he throws private parties, and he's, a lot of rappers and stuff collect his things. So he's got a lot of sort of influential people around him, and he throws these private parties, and the ticket to get in is showing your wallet and showing that you own this access pass. And it's a pretty cool thing, right? We think about, and I think for a lot of people, I try to translate that into that airline status, or, the platinum card from Amex. These are the kind of things that you're getting. You're getting some benefits for it. There's an upfront cost, but you're getting some benefits for it. And they're benefits that are more than just going, to your point, to a festival, having a few drinks, having a great time, and the memories. But there may be other aspects to it that go along both before and after that event too, because of that access. All right, I want to chat with you for a minute or two about Central Business Development. They're my sponsor and underwriter here at the show, and I think it's important to spend a little bit of time understanding what they do, because if you're listening, you're probably interested in this marketplace and you maybe even have an idea. So one of the things I really like about Ryan and the team at Central is that they are really entrepreneurs. They aren't just a development firm that sits there and takes orders from big companies of, hey, we need you to build this out. They really are partners. I've seen this with them now multiple times. I've had listeners of this show that have reached out to them and created projects with them. I've had guests of the show create relationships with Central Business Development. And what they all have really found is that there's this great opportunity to be an entrepreneur with them, where you can approach them with an idea and say, hey, here's what we were thinking, and really get a jam session and a whiteboard session with these guys and figure out how do you take that idea and make it a reality if it's possible, or is that even an idea that should be considered in blockchain just yet? That's what I like about what Central does. So I would encourage you to check out centralbusinessdevelopment.com. Reach out to them, even if it's just, hey, look, we're wondering how, I don't know, how blockchain is going to affect our real estate investment firm in the future. And you want to just have that time chatting with folks that understand and know this industry. And maybe there's a project to be created there for you. Maybe there's an opportunity to be an entrepreneur out inside your industry and create something new and exciting that will not only affect your business and how it works into the future, but might be a disruptor to other industries as well.
Yeah, and I think what you're also referring to is the community that comes with that access.
Yeah.
So yeah, for example, in our Discord, we'll continue to expand it, but sometimes people like to build community around either specific interests and or specific locations. So, if you went to our Discord today, you'll see there's an Austin channel, there's an LA channel. I think we have a Miami channel too. But either way, as more of our NFT holders join our Discord, they'll have access to these various channels, and and some of them will be token gated specifically for the holders. But the idea there is they can connect with other people that are nearby them that share the same passion for blues, or the same passion for Austin FC soccer, or the same passion for Miami football, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the idea is they can be Festival Pass members or potential NFT holders, come there, connect ahead of the time and say, hey, sounds awesome. The team's traveling this week, but we're all going to go to a watch party at this bar. Come join us. And you already know you're part of this group, part of this membership community. So even if it's not a ticketed event, you're still gaining a lot of value.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I think there's so many of these little membership groups out there. Just yesterday, my wife and I, we have one of my great friends, Andrew Kolikoff. He runs a New York Jets sort of fan club here in town. And they meet up every single week and they take over a whole bar. And he's like, you have to come out and experience this. And it was pretty cool. I mean, we walked in literally every single person in that bar and they just sort of take over a bar. But he's met all sorts of people. I mean, most Jets fans are from New York. He's from New York. Yeah. Guess what? Most of his now really close friends all came from that group because they had similar interests. And I think this is really true with any of the friends groups that we have, right? When you have a group of friends, there's some similar interest that brought you together. And I think that's the cool thing about what you're doing is it allows people to sort of bond around that. But on the flip side of that, let's talk a little bit about, the monetization of that audience as well, because I've got to think if you've got a Miami Dolphins group that people are excited about the Miami Dolphins, there's opportunities there for the team to participate as well. Have you done much of those kind of things yet where it's, companies are getting involved or events are getting involved in the back end, providing specialized experiences because of that membership?
Yeah. So we're working on a lot of those. There's a few partnerships we already launched, and I'll chat about a couple of them, or at least one of them that's public is, I don't know if you're familiar with, the water brand Liquid Death.
Of course.
So Liquid Death is a well-known a brilliant brand that happens to be very event focused. They're at many, many, many festivals as well as elsewhere. But it has this really cool underlying brand. They have their own NFT collection called the Murderhead Death Club, which is a funny name in itself. Yeah. But we partnered with them specifically because if you think about it, both of our audiences share a very like-minded approach, right? Especially on the music side. So what's kind of cool in this space using Web3 as a conduit is not only if somebody has our NFT and they go to Festival Pass, and connect their wallet, we immediately recognize our own NFT and provide credits for you to go to everything. But for example, if you're a Murderhead Death Club NFT holder and you connect your wallet to Festival Pass, you immediately get triggered a special badge. And that badge gives you a few credits a month for free that just happen to enter your account just because you're also a Murderhead Death Club holder. So as you can, that's just one example in the Web3 space of building branded partnerships with other like-minded communities. And to your point, in the IRL and in real life, we will be, and we've already had many discussions with several communities of doing just that, like providing an opportunity for different fan groups to get benefits. And even here in Austin, I did mention there's the only professional sports team in Austin is a soccer club, American football. Not American football, European football, but American soccer.
But we'll try to take credit for it too. I mean, we take credit for everything else. We might as well take it,
Yeah, and some they have a fan group in general, right? That are the crazy fans that sit in the back of the stadium, or in the end zone, or behind the goal of the stadium, and they're the ones that make all the noise. But a bunch of their folks are NFT holders of ours, and in the coming, whether it's this season, because the season's almost over, going into next season, we're going to be doing a lot for them. We'll be kind of helping them with their watch parties, creating some ways for them to connect even outside of their own kind of group. So the answer is yes. I'll answer yes nice. To your.
Ed, how do you see this going? I mean, obviously, you've had the Web 2 aspect to your business. You're moving into the Web 3 aspect. Certainly right now, as far as NFTs are concerned, there's been this real sort of, sell-off and a lot of people have lost interest. And I think, like we talked about beforehand, it doesn't have to do, the items that have utility still have utility, right? It was the clip art, let me get rich quick, Lambo yet kind of environment where people were just trying to make a quick buck on this trend. I mean, that's going to wash through in the next 6 to 12 months and people will start taking this more seriously again. But, moving into that Web3 space, where do you see this going? I mean, with Meta, with, all of the things that can be done, the DAOs, we've talked a lot on this show about these decentralized autonomous organizations that, essentially pick the set list for the band. The band doesn't control their set list. It's controlled by the holders of these tokens that are in the audience. I mean, where do you see that going from your side of things?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. There's a few questions to answer.
There is.
So on the first piece is kind of where is NFTs going in general is, I think it's normal for technology to do what it's doing, right?
Yes.
It's normal to have a concept where there's an underlying technology that will be here forever. And there is a slow adoption of that technology until there is some kind of thing that creates a bunch of buzz, i.e. NFT 1.0, that creates all this buzz. And then makes people realize or understand what it is. And then usually there's some kind of crash that comes after that buzz. And then all of these things that don't make a lot of sense or don't have a lot of utility or aren't valuable inherently go away. And then the next phase comes in. So I'd like to say we're in NFT 2.0, right? Right now, all NFTs are based upon, it's an amazing technology that is decentralized, that allows people to have ownership, that allows smart contracts to dictate the aspect and function of what we're going for. And, in 3 to 5 years, every single industry in our world will have some level of an NFT based upon that industry. People might not call it NFTs. It just might be, just forget about the word. And actually, I think in the next year or so, it's using the word NFT or the acronym or whatever you want to call it, it just won't even be talked about. It just will simply be, like in our world, it would be, hey, get a lifetime of live events, sign up here and get your your pass.
Right.
It's not about getting your NFT, just get your pass. Just because it's managed on the back end with smart contracts and in Web3, the idea that, now if I had it for a few years and want to resell it, I can just go to a secondary market, resell it. It doesn't have to be quote unquote an NFT you're reselling. You're reselling your pass, and there's a function that enables it to happen. So the point is I think we're going to continue to grow in that way. And we're excited, for us, it's really about building this passionate user base, right? So I think what happens in our world is even if it takes us a year to sell out all 10,000 NFTs that we're going to launch, or that the only 10,000 we're ever going to sell for the Founders Pass, that's okay, right? Because we're getting to know all of these holders along the way. And as we're getting to know them, they're using our platform. And that's what's different about us compared to, just grabbing, as you say, a piece of clip art and being one of 10,000 people in a community and not really doing much with it. Out of our holders, every single one's going to be going in and they're going to be booking tickets. We're going to learn about them. We're going to know who's more of a music fan versus a sports fan. How can we support the community? When we do our quarterly events, you guys vote on it. Tell us, what would you rather do? Do you want a really cool band to play for 300 people in Austin, or do you want to go to New York City and Madison Square Garden and hang out with players of a basketball team or a hockey team? Like you tell us, what do you guys want to do? So that's what's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that whole concept of sort of the decentralized decision making and how tokenomics, I think, can really, bring that to the next level. So how do people find out more about Festival Pass? It's festivalpass.com, right? Yep.
So the main platform is festivalpass.com. To learn more about the NFT specifically, it's family.festivalpass.com. We call our collection the Festival Family, and there's a reason for that. One of the things to point out, which is interesting, is the way we are selling the NFT. It's different than most people have ever seen before. We're selling it in tranches. So we're minting it in tranches. So right now, we only recently launched the first tranche, which is 1,000 NFTs. And we're selling those or minting those for 0.95 Ethereum, right? And what's great about that is in today's Ethereum dollars, that's about $1,250. And you're immediately getting $1,200 of credits right back. So it's almost like you're effectively minting it for free.
Yeah.
And then every year thereafter getting $1,200 worth of credits to spend. But each tranche we sell will go up in price, right? So second tranche will be a little more, third tranche will be a little more. By the time we sell the last 1,000 of our total 10,000, it will be somewhere between 2.5 and 3 Ethereum. And so what it's really doing is getting the people that are, coming in early and being part of the community, helping, let everybody know what we're doing and what our community is all about, gets the advantage and the big upside in the future.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, folks, well, check out festivalpass.com and family.festivalpass.com. I'm going to check this out. I have to admit, since COVID, I used to be like 4 nights a week out at something. And since COVID, I've become a lot more of a homebody, but I need to get my ass back out there. So maybe I'll check it out. This could be a cool way to do that and to be part of sort of a larger community, which I think is pretty cool as well. Ed, thanks for being here. Yeah,
I was going to say, make sure if you're going to any of those football parties in Phoenix that you're going to a Giants party, not a Jets party.
Oh boy. Hey, well, my cousin actually played for the Giants. Actually, he was sort of famous. He actually was part of the reason that they did the strike in the 80s because his name was Doug Kotar, and he died from brain injuries from getting hit too many times in the NFL. So yeah, I'm even though I'm a Steelers fan and a Cardinals fan, I will occasionally vote for the Giants just because of my cousin's connection. But Ed, thanks for being on the show. It was great having you and great getting to know you.
You too. Thanks for having me, Derrick.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Convergence. If you want more information about the topics you've heard here today, reach out to us at theconvergencepodcast.com.